A pair of military police officers stepped toward the young woman as the colonel's voice echoed across the crowded ceremony. "Arrest her!" Immediately, the square fell silent. Hundreds of soldiers, veterans, and families watched in disbelief as she stood frozen, clutching a weathered leather journal against her chest. She didn't resist. She simply whispered that she had only come to return something that had belonged to her father. The colonel's expression never changed. He believed she was lying. But within seconds, someone in the crowd began walking forward, and everything was about to change. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. The young woman's name was Emily Carter. She had spent years searching for answers after her father disappeared during the war, leaving behind only faded photographs, unanswered letters, and the journal she now carried. Inside its worn pages was a final promise written in trembling handwriting. "One day, return this to the man who saved my life." She had followed that promise across the country until it led her to this military remembrance ceremony. The colonel saw only danger. Security had already warned him that someone intended to interrupt the event. When Emily stepped beyond the rope barrier, holding an old military journal, every suspicion settled on her. His order came without hesitation. The officers reached for her wrists. She closed her eyes. She thought no one would believe her. She was wrong. An elderly man slowly emerged from the crowd. His uniform jacket carried medals so numerous they shimmered beneath the afternoon sun. But it wasn't the decorations that silenced everyone. It was the way every veteran nearby instinctively straightened their backs. Even the colonel stopped speaking. The old man walked with careful steps, leaning slightly on a cane worn smooth with time. His weathered face held decades of memories, and when his eyes settled on the journal in Emily's hands, they widened with unmistakable recognition. His voice was barely louder than a whisper. "That belongs to Captain James Carter." Emily looked up in shock. "You knew my father?" The old veteran smiled sadly. "He saved my life." A ripple of whispers swept through the crowd. The colonel frowned. Something inside him suddenly felt uncertain. The veteran gently accepted the journal and opened it to the final page. Tucked inside was a faded battlefield photograph showing two young soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder beneath clouds of smoke. One of them was James Carter. The other was the man now standing before everyone. For nearly 50 years, he had carried the weight of a debt he could never repay. During the final assault of their deployment, enemy fire trapped their entire unit beneath collapsing concrete. While others searched desperately for cover, James had charged back into chaos, pulling wounded soldiers to safety one after another, including him. But James never made it out. Before disappearing into the smoke, he had handed over the journal and made one request. "If my daughter ever finds you, tell her I kept my promise." The veteran's voice cracked. "I searched for her for decades." Tears filled Emily's eyes as the impossible truth unfolded before hundreds of silent witnesses. The colonel lowered his head. He realized he had judged a grieving daughter as a criminal before hearing a single word of her story. Without being asked, he stepped toward her. "I'm sorry." The words carried farther than any command he had given that day. Then something extraordinary happened. Every veteran present rose to their feet, one by one, then all together. The sound of boots striking the pavement rolled across the square like distant thunder. Hands lifted into perfect salutes, creating a sea of unwavering respect that surrounded Emily from every direction. No applause, only silence. The kind of silence earned through sacrifice. The veteran carefully placed the journal back into Emily's hands. "Your father didn't just save soldiers," he said softly. "He saved the futures of families who never even knew his name." Emily finally understood why he had never truly been gone. His courage had been living inside other people all along. The colonel removed his own ceremonial medal and placed it gently beside the journal. "It belongs with his story." As the evening sun painted the memorial in warm golden light, grief no longer felt like an ending. It felt like a bridge connecting one generation of courage to the next. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits and it finds its way back. And sometimes, the quietest promise carried through the darkest battlefield becomes the brightest light waiting on the other side of time. If this story touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for more unforgettable stories of courage and hope. And remember, sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones history almost forgets until one act of truth brings their legacy home.